The wisdom, the nuggets, the life lesson.
Avoid it if you can. But what happens when you don't kill the game? What happens when there are those days, weeks or months where things are not working out for you?
But what's this preoccupation you have with buying a house by 25? Like,
I'm going to be sexy for as long as I can.
100%. Everything was give it all that you have. And then I would always be shocked when I had nothing left.
The reason that many of us are becoming boring when we get older is because we have no hobbies. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are going to be sharing 25 things we have learned at 25. Somebody's birthday's in 2 days. Well, 2 days from recording this, 2 days before you're listening to it. And she's turning 26. Grown woman era.
Gathering round.
How you feeling?
Old. No, I'm trolling. I actually feel good. I actually really do not feel old at all. Good. I feel very, very good about this birthday.
Good.
I feel very, very good about being 26. Good. I feel content, man. Good.
Yeah.
Happy National Renee Month.
Yes, February.
If you are new around here, I'm not the person that celebrates their birthday on one day. I'm the person that celebrates their birthday throughout the month. So welcome to National Renee Month.
In the spirit of it being Renee's birthday and us being in our quarter life era and entering into our very much grown woman era, no longer youths. We are grown women. We thought we would share 25 life lessons we have learned in our 25 years of life.
Absolutely.
But before we get into it, housekeeping announcements, baby girl.
Hello, let's go.
Our book is launching and we're having an event here in London with Fane.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
I didn't even plan it.
I know. I could tell.
What can I say? It's a gift.
Well,
so if you would like to grab a ticket, please do. They are already on sale. The link is in our description and our bios. It's literally everywhere. It's in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So please grab a ticket, come and support us and celebrate the launch of our debut book, To My Sisters, A Guide to Building Lifelong Friendship, which you should also buy because it's available to pre-order as you are listening to
exciting
this
scenes.
podcast.
Very exciting scenes. And everyone can come. Everyone's mothers, fathers, uncles, sisters, brothers. Sorry, that
you are all invited.
You guys are already. Just come on over. Come on over. We're ready to host everybody.
Yeah.
So please purchase a ticket. Yeah. Support us. And the great thing is, if you haven't already purchased a book and you'd like to come, there will be tickets where you'll be able to purchase a book on the day.
Fantastic.
Or you can purchase it in advance with the ticket itself.
We love to see it.
Plus, word on the street is if you do want to get a little bit of a signature,
Ooh.
you'll be Look, guys, I don't know how much that signature is going to be worth in the next 5 to 10 years.
Anyway, to be honest, it's as sure an investment strategy as Bitcoin.
Hello. So if you want to invest in the To My Sisters coin, I suggest you purchase a ticket, purchase a book, and come say hi to us after the show for a little insignia, if you will.
There we go. Shout out to everyone who sent in their vision application. We are reading, we are scanning, we are sifting through, and we will get back to the winner very, very, very soon. Are we going to announce the winner? Because I don't want them to be ambushed. It might be nice though.
I think it would be nice to celebrate. I don't think we won't give out personal details like that. Just maybe an IG profile or something to go say congratulations. All right,
cool.
And if there's any, fraudulent behavior, or if there's anyone that's just ill, sending ill wishes, sick 'em girls, get 'em. Do it.
Yeah. So yes, we are working on that. We're working on a lot of things, including the international trips, all the announcements from last week's basically. But into the ding dilemma. Hey sisters, I've been a part of the sisterhood since the How We Got Into Oxford and Cambridge days, and it's been beautiful to see how God has come through for you and how well you've stewarded the resources he has given you.
Beautiful.
I have a deep dislike for my life at the moment.
Oh no.
Yeah, I have for a while, mainly due to living in a turbulent household, but I can't move out of yet.
Right.
Although I won't go into much detail, many of my life circumstances are not in my control at the moment, and they probably won't be for the next 4 to 5 years.
Oh, no.
These circumstances suddenly hit my life like a ton of bricks, and since they are out of my control yet affect me on a daily basis, I feel helpless. I am a very ambitious person, but over time, my passion and drive for life and my goals are fading away. I am so demotivated. I've been battling depression for the past 5 years and feel more and more defeated as time goes on. I am very unhappy. I wake up every day wishing the days were over. Time is going so slow, and I can't wait to wake up one day where things will be better and I can finally have control over my life and start thriving. How can I hold on to hope, keep my spirits high, and stay in the moment? I want to live, not just exist, while waiting for better days. Any advice will be appreciated. Love, a sister in need who has been supporting since the beginning.
Oh, first of all, sis, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for being a part of this community, but also thank you for investing in us way before TMS was even a thing. Like, thinking about that video, that was like, what, 6-7 years ago now?
Most likely, yeah.
Which is insane. And we have grown so much and just changed so much since then. So thank you for investing in us. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for being a supporter, a sister, everything. We appreciate you and love you dearly. Now, with this dilemma, first of all, I'm really sorry that this is your experience. I think it's never pleasant to know that there's certain things that you are hoping for, desiring for, certain ambitions that you have, and knowing that there's also circumstances beyond your control that are preventing you from, you know, doing the things that you want to do in the way that you want to do them. And I think that resonates with so many different people, so many different sisters, where it feels like you want to make progress, but the rate of progress is hampered considerably by the fact that there are things and situations out of your control. So I just want to say sorry that that's actually your experience, and it's something that many of us have dealt with, and don't feel too alone in that experience, because many of us are going through it at the same time as well.
Definitely.
I think that before we kind of talk about the general things that we can be doing to ensure that this is more of a positive experience for you whilst these circumstances are impacting your capacity to progress with your goals, whether there is a clinical diagnosis for depression, I think it's always worth pursuing professional help if you do have resourcing to or capacity to, especially because it seems like this is a long-term thing that you've been going through, and the feelings have been quite persistent, which is actually one of the what's the word?
Symptoms?
Yes, which is actually one of the symptoms of depression, at least a clinical diagnosis. So I would definitely encourage you to maybe seek professional help, whether it be through formal counseling, through therapy, whether it be going to some mental health pop-ups that may be available either in your region or online, even if it's going for an initial consultation, just to know that, you know, this is something that is above and beyond just general feelings of lowness and low mood. And I think it's important, as it will help you combat it and think more strategically about how you might want to combat those persistent feelings. So that's the first area that I'd like to address. In terms of thinking more generally around how you can help yourself get into a place where you can actually still be hoping for things and overcome low motivation, I think it's important to cultivate a sense of mindfulness. And sometimes the best way that we can combat that feeling of hopelessness towards our future is to invest in our present. And to this end, I'm not too sure what your situation is. You haven't really given too many details around the circumstances, and I don't want to generalize or be inconsiderate around the circumstances that have arisen. But I think in terms of thinking about your community, if it's a family situation, you may want to look at friends, for example, and cultivating the daily things that you can do with your friends or by yourself to allow you to have that feeling of positivity and mindfulness. I think whilst it's really lovely to have that hope of a better future, combating those feelings of, you know, persistent lowness and low mood can be done through ensuring that you actually invest in your present and stay in the present and actually enjoy the present. So where you can, whether it be engaging more with your friends on a regular basis and actually having those conversations with your friends to let them know, yo, this is what I'm going through right now, and I would appreciate having your support during this time, can actually help so much. I think one of my favorite sayings is something that my mom says all the time. a problem shared is a problem half solved. And whilst your friends may not necessarily be able to solve your entire problems that, you know, you're going through, they may be able to support you and give you a sense of, you know, meaningfulness when it comes to your existence, and actually add color and flavor to your days. So having those conscious catch-ups with your friends, whichever family members you feel comfortable confiding with or engaging with, investing in those relationships too can be really, really helpful. And then paring down the macro goals with the micro goals is something that we've spoken about at length in quite a few of our episodes and quite consistently over the course of season 4. But sometimes, whilst it is great to hope for, you know, the bigger goals and whatnot, it's also really nice to have micro goals, or goals that you can have within the span of a week or a month to kind of give you that motivation to get towards the end of the week. It might be having a session in, you know, the week where you actually get to do something you really enjoy, having a hobby that really feels pleasantries within your day, that kind of thing. Or it may be actually just having some time to decompress. Sometimes, depending on the circumstance that you're in, it can feel as though the world is collapsing around you, and sometimes you actually just need space and time to process. So building in time within your day and within your weeks to actually have time to process, whether it be through journaling, going through the long walks, whether it is meditating, but actually having time for yourself is really, really important. And if you have capacity to do that, I definitely encourage that. And then the last thing that I'll say, of course, there's a whole host of things that I could say, but I think in terms of what I think is super important, I personally, and of course, Courtney is women of faith, really do have a deep spiritual connection being Christians. Whatever it is for you, sometimes it is really, really helpful and important to have the belief in something that is bigger than yourself and something that can overcome your situation. And I think in terms of the pressure that can come with feeling as though it's only you that has to take yourself out of this situation can actually be really, really harmful rather than helpful. So I would definitely encourage you to go on that spiritual journey if that is something that is, you know, within your arena, something that you feel comfortable with, and exploring, finding communities that you can also feel comfortable doing that with. But one thing that has been super, super helpful in terms of being a motivating force, something that has added light to the end of the tunnel on some of the darkest days, at least for me personally and for a number of the other sisters, is actually having a real spiritual connection to, for us, that's God. So I definitely recommend doing that and seeing if that is also an avenue that you'd be interested in. Now, I have nattered on for quite a bit.
Solid advice. Solid advice.
Miss Courtney, I would love to hear if you have anything, please, to add.
No, literally everything that you said is exactly what I'd echo. Like, those feelings are something a lot of us can relate to, but at the same time, just because it's relatable doesn't mean that it's something that should be trivialized or normalized. And so I'm really proud of the fact that you even reached out to us to ask for help. And we are definitely not clinical psychologists, we are not therapists, we are not even psychology majors. We just read sometimes.
You did get your
I did get, not my little, that's my whole degree.
I know. I realized
letters after my name.
You did get a little that in my head it was like HSP. Oh, the P was psychology.
No, it wasn't. It was politics.
Well, guys, on today's episode of How Much Do You Really Know Your Bestie? Good God.
We're gonna move past that,
right.
But yeah, I mean, I did a module too in psychology at uni, but basically I'm not equipped. We are not equipped to qualified to diagnose, to really help you in the way that you deserve. We can just give you sisterly advice, and this is what this space exists for. And as people who have been in a very similar situation, I would say one thing that kind of helped me was faith and speaking to people and realizing that, you know, I'm not alone in this kind of situation, but also just having that outlet, whether it be friends, family, trusted people you could have these conversations with who, you know, can just remind you that you should keep holding on to hope. But that concept of hope, I think you need to also know what you are hoping for. So taking time to, you know, think about the future, pray about the future, but also putting the practical steps in place to start taking those baby steps. I know you said that there are several factors in your life right now which you feel like are outside of your control, which you cannot change nor can you escape. And I think that that's very valid. And that's one thing. And I also think we can then take an assessment of, okay, what would be my optimum? What would be my happiness? Is it moving out? Is it working in this particular space? Is it having this kind of relationship with my family, overcoming this kind of pain and heartbreak? What does happiness actually look like to you? What are you hoping for? Draw up that vision and start to reverse engineer and think, what can I start doing now every day practically to help me? And that could be little habits, journaling, taking time for myself, all the things that Renee mentioned, finding a hobby, finding an activity which could help you escape to some extent, maybe even keep you out of the house for as many hours as possible. And maybe your household can then become somewhere you just sleep. You know, and then you get up in the morning and you go out, you do your thing, you come back, you sleep. If you have to be an active participant, just find times in your day that you can just dedicate to doing you, taking care of your mental health, and things which actually spark genuine moments of joy in your heart on a daily basis. I think that would be very important, and you shouldn't feel selfish for doing that. It's actually very vital if you are really trying to overcome these feelings of sadness and unhappiness. But even on a more practical step, if it is looking like I need to move out, you're never really too young to do that. Obviously, legal ages and states and stuff like that. But if it is, a dire situation, start researching how to, get in touch with your local authorities to find yourself some housing, or start thinking about getting a job, or what qualifications you have so that you can move out when you go to uni, depending on your age. Just think about, what practical steps do I need to actually change my life, and start talking to other people about that, people who you feel safe with, people who are actually equipped to help you. But start thinking about how you change this, because being unhappy about your life circumstance is the worst feeling ever. And sometimes the only thing we can do to feel power is to grab whatever thing we can do to just enact change. And it may be small, but if you're taking small steps to it every day, at least that will be your reminder to have hope that you are getting closer and closer to the goal. You keep working, you keep stacking, you keep saving, you keep going to therapy, you keep having the hard conversations, or you keep journaling, you keep praying. There's always going to be hope as long as you keep taking these steps forward. So yeah, definitely think about what you can do to change your life, and surround yourself with people who can help you with that process, because it's very hard to do it alone. It's not impossible to do alone, but it's better done with others.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'd say, sister. We love you. We actually pray that God would give you joy in this time, even in the smallest things, and a deep sense of peace, as well as a new spark of vision and cause for whatever is kind of holding you back, or you feel like is completely leaving your control, to change and actually turn around in terms of the situation. And so we pray for safety, love in your life as well. And I actually hope that you find people who you can do life with and get through this time with. And when you get to the other side, baby girl, we will be all there, ready to celebrate with you. But even in this time, we give you our love and our compassion and our support. Keep us updated. Keep talking to us, please. So let's get into the episode. 25 things we have learned at 25.
25.
The wisdom, the nuggets, the life lessons.
Avoid it if you can. Avoid it if you can.
I think you make a good point.
Because if you can, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm very excited for this episode.
That's the PSA we all needed.
Do you know why?
Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm a bit nervous. I hope we don't waffle. Well, not waffle.
You see, we have a podcast.
So and you guys have been here for the long haul. So
let's go.
All right. So out of my list, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, and just reflecting on 25, is forgiving yourself and focusing on healing your trauma. I think that sometimes we wait until certain circumstances or certain situations arise for us to realize, oh, okay, cool, that hurt me. Or, oh, okay, cool, I haven't healed from this. Or, oh, okay, cool, this is resurfacing. But I think being proactive about dealing with trauma has helped me immensely, especially, I want to say from about age 23, 24, really proactively sitting with myself and being like, yo, what's the trauma that I'm actually still dealing with, or what is resurfacing again and again for me, especially when I'm interacting with other people. And then next to that, forgiving myself. I think when we think of forgiveness, we often think of someone else has wronged me, or I've gone through something at the hands of somebody else. But one thing that I realized that I was dealing with, especially towards, I guess, the beginning of my 20s, was this incapacity to forgive myself for a whole host of different things. I didn't even know what that looked like, right? Forgiving myself for, okay, sometimes I slipped up or I failed at particular junctures of my life, or just forgiving myself on a daily basis. I mean, I've spoken on the podcast at length before around my perfectionist tendencies and the desire to always be that person that's like on top or like absolutely killing the game. But what happens when you don't kill the game? What happens when there are those days, weeks or months where things are not working out for you? What happens when you're persistently not on, you know, on top of things? And giving myself permission to actually be down bad. That was really, really important for me, especially in the early stages of my 20s, where it felt like there were so many things changing so quickly that of course I wouldn't be equipped to deal with these situations because I had no frame of reference. So even this whole idea of, you know, being perfect and all that kind of stuff, there was so much pressure to have a perfect response to changing situations that when I felt like I had failed, I had little self-forgiveness. For myself. Good. So the first thing that I would say is, yo, forgive yourself and focus on healing that trauma, baby girl, because one thing about trauma is it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Resurface. And take your time with it too. And I can't sit here and honestly say, okay, I'm 26, I've completely healed. Because I know there's going to be situations in which the worst in me will arise again. I'm self-aware enough to know that even like now, there's certain things, I will say that I'm much better at dealing with things. My responses are a lot more mature. And there's definitely been a lot of growth in terms of how I handle situations that make me feel uncomfortable. However, the great thing about the human experience, and I think it's something that we often don't afford each other now, is this is a lifelong journey. This is a lifelong dedication to, I'm going to know how to deal with some things and others I will have to learn on the job or learn on the go. There's experiences I haven't had yet and I'm looking forward to them on the one hand, but on the other hand, I'm preparing myself to have grace for myself because I haven't got all things figured out. And that's okay.
Completely.
When it comes to forgiving yourself, it's not just about, oh, I did that wrong, but it's also about understanding that you only have your experiences or your knowledge up until a certain point, which is right now. And sometimes you don't have the benefit of hindsight. Sometimes you don't have the benefit of experience. Sometimes you don't have the benefit of people or resources to help you to navigate something correctly, quote unquote. So forgiving myself, proactively healing my trauma, and having enough grace for myself in the future, knowing that I'm probably going to stumble again, but at least I know that when I stumble, I've already front loaded that grace.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's the first thing that I would say.
Good. Ooh, not a deep dive.
Deep dive, baby girl, but I'm going, you know,
throw
ping
it back
pong over to that side. What you got for us?
Okay, so my first thing, it's not like I didn't know that was coming. I don't know why that's
like, shocking.
Like, me.
I think it was the whole ping pong thing. I don't know what was going on.
Nah, good analogy. My first thing is put God first in everything.
Come on now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
You know that song is about sex?
Glory be
to the Lord in the highest. Yeah, that's the best salvation. Yeah. Put God first in everything. I have come to the realization that, especially finding faith in my late teens, that, you know what, things are so much better when you keep your eyes on God. They are so much less life is so much less overwhelming. Your perspective of yourself gets better. If for me, understanding God, growing in my faith, having a relationship with God has given me such a great grounding and a sense of self and identity and confidence. And I think when people look at us, when people look at me and they're kind of like, oh, how are you this? How are you that? How have you done this? How have you done that? No matter how practical the advice I can give is, no matter how, wise I can come across and I can put it in fancy terms, there is at the bottom line a sense of, it's not me, it's my relationship with God. It is God. And that's just something I can never take away. I can never subtract from any of the equations of my success, or even the way I've dealt with failure, or even my experience of failure itself. And I think a lot of us are trying to navigate the world in our own wisdom and in our own understanding of things. And I've had to come to the acknowledgement that, one, God's ways are higher than my ways. Two, like you just mentioned, I don't know everything and I won't know everything. There are going to be many things outside of my control. So no matter how amazing and talented and gifted I am, there are some things I have to surrender and something I have to surrender to. And that's God in my case. And it's given me a great sense of purpose as well. And it's just been a great sense of comfort to me. So when I say put God first in everything, it's something that dawned on me yesterday, which was, I am a created being, obviously from a biblical perspective. I am a created being and I was created to please God, right? And when I think about that, it makes everything else get in line. Work gets in line. Like when I find myself getting overwhelmed or fearing people's opinion or getting to a point where I'm like I'm being defined by my work and my successes, and even sometimes getting caught up in pride and arrogance over the things that are happening. When I remind myself you were a being created to please God first and foremost, it reminds me that A, I am enough, B, I am a work in progress, and C, all of these other fluffy stuff are additions. Like all this thing we called life are just additions. But at my core, I can never lose sight of the fact that I have a father and my connection with him is what's keeping me alive. I'm breathing his air right now. You know, I'm operating based on his instruction and his guidance and all the other fluffy stuff that you'll have to go to church to hear. But that would be my first one.
I love that.
Hit us with number 2.
Oh, number 2. Make giving a priority. So I think, especially as we're coming into this age, it's very much been about like
the self,
doing things from me, all that good stuff. And I think what's been beautiful about, to my sisters, what's been beautiful about cultivating such a wonderful relationship with Courtney, as well as all of the various other people in my life, you know who you are, you know how people do that.
Shout out to you.
I just want to thank my mama. Make giving a priority in every single capacity that you can, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, resources. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, just briefly, around how little people give. And it's understandable given the fact that all of us are in situations where it may be difficult to actually give, especially financially. But when you actually make it a priority and you see the impact that giving can make on somebody's life, this is part and parcel of the reason that we're doing the Vision Challenge, because we know that is the difference between I have a vision and I've made it plain and made it reality. So make giving a priority, whether it be, volunteering, or whether it be giving back in particular sessions, or picking up somebody as a mentee. Make giving a priority, not necessarily because you want to have some kind of reward in the end, but because giving as a principle is such a good thing to do. And it will really sharpen your character as well, insofar as your priority is no longer just about what you can reap, but very much focused on what you can sow. And then as a nice little bonus, you'll get some stuff coming back to 100%. You, but give, because this world is unkind, and you can be you can be the one person that's actually made somebody's day or somebody's life. So give.
That's good.
So Miss Courtney, what have you got for us next?
My next one is lean into the soft skills that come naturally to you, because they will be your highest paying skills.
Baby, come on now.
So, back to what we were saying, I got all these little degrees or whatever, fancy letters behind my name. But the things that have made me the most money have been my speaking ability, my ability to critically think, my ability to lead people, motivate people, storytell, edit, take pictures and kind of capture the way I see the world through a camera. And I think that's so sick. And I wish when I was younger, I had caught onto that, because I would have started a few things a lot earlier. I would have been a YouTuber from 14.
I can imagine.
And I probably would have been
killed it too.
100%. I would have been a billionaire man.
100%.
It's not too late. It's never too late. But I think to myself, when I look at my life, the things that have brought me the most fulfillment and the most money have been these soft skills. And so I would have told myself if I was younger, but also now I'm realizing, and I really love it. that these soft skills, depending on what you're called to do in your life,
Absolutely.
these soft skills matter. Like I'm sure even with you with writing, right? It's not
100%.
necessarily like a soft skill, but
Yeah.
you get what I mean. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
focus on engineering or focus on like, you know, becoming a great historian. Like, nah, learn to write and keep practicing at that writing. And the same with me, like keep making videos or, you know, keep learning how to put things in sentences and speak things out in a way that's emotive and captivating. And the more you master that, the higher you'll be valued as well, right? And your contribution to the world will be extremely valuable. So that was the second life lesson.
I love that.
Thanks, man. I'm trying.
Okay, you succeeded. All right, what we got next on the list from Miss Renee is make exercise a habit.
Yeah.
Baby, make
Talk
exercise.
about it to us.
Hello, because I've spoken again about my journey into the whole fitness thing and like exercising, health and nutrition, all that jazz. I wish that I had made exercising a habit way earlier on, and not just for aesthetic or functionality or anything like that, but as something I actually enjoy doing.
Right.
Because there are a whole myriad of reasons as to why exercise is good for you and healthy beyond I want to look a certain way, but the way that I feel counteracting, you know, symptoms of depression and anxiety, my mental wealth and health, like just my overall happiness. And I genuinely believe had I exercised earlier, I would have been an athlete in something. I think, but it's okay. It's fine. At least I have the gene. There you go. If you see me in like a powerlifting competition or in some kind of, you know,
I can see that for sure.
You know, but in something like that or some kind of like sprinting or whatever, I would have been an athlete. But the real point is make things that are good for you habits as opposed to things that you have to do. Because when it becomes part of your routine, then success becomes an inevitability that you will succeed. So even when thinking about like how I exercise now, aesthetics, weight management, all that kind of stuff that people put so much emphasis on when they're exercising is secondary to me. What is primary to me is how am I feeling? What kind of strength gains can I make? What kind of functional strength gains can I make? How competent do I feel when performing these particular exercises? And it's become a habit to the point that I feel uncomfortable during the week when I feel like I haven't moved around a bit. It's also been so pivotal in my cognitive function, the way that I think about things. Some of my best ideas have come from when I'm exercising. You know, there's certain things that you be doing. You'll be out here running or pushing past something. And you're like, if I can take this here, I can take this elsewhere. And if I've been showing up consistently and made this part of my routine, I know that there's actually nothing beyond my capacity to do, especially because I think that there are four main things that you need to crush. Mind, body, soul, spirit. Most of us overlook body and go straight to mind, spirit, soul, all of that kind of stuff, your emotions. Once you master your body, your flesh, everything can really fall in line. So I definitely say exercise and make it a habit. Yo.
And the body can testify. There we go.
There we go. Don't let me. I'm about to drop it like it's hot right now.
Feel like a bowl of oatmeal.
Don't kill me.
Anyways.
26 and fine. 25. I'm about to be.
Come on.
And this is another thing. I'm
sexy.
going to be sexy for as long as I can.
100%. 100%.
As long
100%.
as. Have you seen Angela Bassett?
Ooh,
I'm trying to be Angela Bassett.
Fine woman, a Viola. Ooh, yeah. Well, my next one is there's no need to rush. I think as a very ambitious person, I completely relate to the girl in the dilemma, like a very ambitious person, as an overachiever, as somebody who, you know, writes goals, wants to tick them off, wants to get them done, and is used to excelling. It can be very easy for me to kind of get to this point where I'm like, what's next? Gotta do this by this age. And I remember I was telling this story on my YouTube channel. I was talking about how I've been wanting to buy a house for a couple of years now, and every time I tried, it kept falling through. Something, you've seen this behind the scenes. Something keeps going wrong, and I was so frustrated. And I spoke to my dad, and he was like, but what's this preoccupation you have with buying a house by 25? Like, what's wrong with you? And I was just like, it's ambition, you know?
Your dad is so funny sometimes. The way he says things, I'm just like...
Yeah, that's why I don't call him often. You come off the phone, you have an existential crisis.
You know what? It makes me feel, sorry, it's such a deviation. But you know when you ask like male friends for advice, they're just like, but what is wrong with you?
Completely.
Are you sick? Like, is everything okay?
And I think that's a very valid point. Like when you see the way men process things and women process things, for a lot of men, I would say, from what I could tell from the men in my life, things aren't necessarily time bound. There's still that sense of like go-getter mentality, and they're very like, I'm on it, I have a goal, I'm gonna reach it, but they're more so focused on let's get the goal rather than I need to get this goal by 30, I need to get this goal by, especially with like biological clock ticking and all of that for women, and people reminding us of this, you know, constructed concept of your biological clock and all of this stuff. It's like, okay, I actually can take my time. Like I found myself at 24, 25 feeling like, oh my God, am I a failure? And it's like, how? You've got like 3/4 of your life, or, you know, whatever ahead of you. What the heck? Like you're not even halfway. And so, yeah, just there's no need to rush. Take time. Go and listen to last week's episode, actually, if you want to hear about patience and endurance and not giving up, basically.
Don't give up, baby. We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
What's actually excellent about that point is I have a related point to that. I love it when...
Not the white man voice.
You know what's funny?
What?
There's so many white men voices that we could do. There's the, you know, received... Anyways.
Nah, stop it.
Yeah, let's not, man.
Shout out to you, our Caucasian brothers.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, welcome to these sides.
We are black.
We are... Just in case you're listening and you ain't seen
the cover.
That is so funny. But actually related to that is the importance of sequencing. So I think sometimes when we're thinking of things being time bound, right, we're very much like, I want to get this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But sequencing is just as important as the thing that you want to achieve, because the sequencing can determine whether you achieve it at all. So I think that's such a great example insofar as many of us are like, oh, I want this thing, like I want a house, for example, but it's like, when do I want to get the house? When feasibly makes sense? And does this take precedence over other certain things? For me, in my early 20s, I was very much about, these are a set of innocuous things that I want to get all by the same time. Right. That doesn't make sense at all, because your focus is going to be diverted. If you see yourself as a finite amount of resource, energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transferred. If you split that energy amongst 10 different things, you won't get the results right. You won't get the results that you want. However, if you line things up so they're one after the other, then you can give the same amount of full energy to each thing, and you'll actually reap a lot more. 100%. It's almost very similar to some investment strategies. So thinking about like VCs, right? It's like they will give a big amount of money to something they think is going to return them a lot of money 100%. To, right? And as much as you want to diversify your portfolio, if you find yourself stretched thin, then you won't actually see decent gains. Sometimes no risk, no reward. 100%. So sequence things out, make sense of the plan, like give us chapters in the storybook. You can't read 10 chapters all at the same time. You have to read chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3. Good. And then think about how you can strategize as well to achieve those things, right? So if it is that you want to get the house, the car, the degree, whatever it is, how can you set it up so that you can get these things one after the other and actually get a wonderful return on all of these investments? And the thing about that's perfect is you can afford to be more tunnel vision the younger you are. Exactly. I think the older you get, the more you have to think about diversification, because your risk, the level of risk you can take is far less. But when you're younger, you can afford to say, I'm going to start that business and I'm just going to focus on that. Because at the end of the story, what I basically said was, I realized that whilst an investment, housing and owning property is an amazing investment strategy, my main investment that other people who had bought houses young weren't doing was I was building a business, a creative business at that. So CDB London, YouTube, TMS, all of that took money. And it's like, okay, so was I going to take the money that I had in savings that I was using to invest in my creative ideas and my companies to then buy a house? Because how could the companies then grow? You know, so it's kind of like, you do have to think about how you're going to stack these things, and it hopefully can lead to a domino effect. There you go. So my next one is, you don't have to work to the point of burnout. And it's something I was talking about very recently with Michael Maniyi. And when I listened to, we were both guests, but at separate occasions on the Common Sense
podcast.
Yeah.
And it's hosted by this guy called Michael Mani. He's absolutely amazing guy doing great things. Go and follow Common Sense and him. But your episode came out yesterday and I was listening to it, and you both were talking about this same thing as well. And we talked about on my podcast episode, which is coming out in a few weeks, which is sometimes it's so easy to think you have to work to being exhausted, and that's just the natural end,
right.
Especially when you love what you do. And it's like you have to put clear boundaries in place to be like, no, I've stopped working. Even if your brain tells you and your body tells you, no, you can do more. It's like, okay, yeah, but I've said I'll stop. And so for me, because of passion and because of ambition, in my early 20s and in my late teens, everything was give it all that you have. And then I would always be shocked when I had nothing left.
The tanker is
empty, running on fumes. Yeah, so you don't have to work all the way till burnout. Give everything your best, optimize, do everything you can so that in the time that you allocate to your work, you can be as efficient and as productive as possible. But once the time comes, you're doing yourself more harm than good to keep going.
That's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Related to a lot of the things that we've said already, take as many risks as possible. Come on. When you are young and your responsibility, one thing that I've noticed as I've gotten older is my level of responsibility has increased.
Yeah.
There are certain things that I now have to pay for that I didn't have to worry about 5 years ago. There are certain things that I know are coming up on the agenda that it's like, oh, this is a commitment.
Yeah.
Whilst you have less commitments, less financial responsibilities, less personal and relational responsibilities, take as many risks as possible as you can. Go for the job, even if it's punching above your weight. Go for the relationship, even though it makes you feel uncomfortable. Go for it. I really, really wish, it's not necessarily a regret because I think I definitely had to go through a couple of stages before I felt comfortable. Go for it. Have the go for it mentality as young. Be as audacious as you possibly can.
Facts.
If you are 18, 19, 20, this is your time to be audacious. Do not be bogged down by anything or anybody. Go for it. I don't know who's listening to this that is feeling like they are being held back or feel uncomfortable or whatnot. Even if you fail, at least you went for it.
Sorry, I want to add a bonus in there so much. And do not be confined by everybody else's ceilings. Like when we were younger, do you know how many times we heard, you're doing too much, you're doing too much, you're doing too much?
Well,
sorry.
And yet much more we will do.
Sorry.
If you think this is too much.
Do you want to close your eyes? Because I'm going to keep going. Like, don't be confined. I think so many of us are listening to everyone else and it's like, no, you have time to do that. I know it's completely contradictory to what I just said, but like all of that. But it's like, no, if you see it and it makes sense to you, go for it.
Go for it. And go for it in its fullest extent. To the fullest extent.
Don't
have a vision. Do you know what I mean? Don't have a vision and then minimize it or like, oh, I need to reel it in.
Make it realistic.
When you are young, you have a license to be delusional.
That's a word.
You have
license to be delusional.
Be as delusional.
You are young.
Be as delusional.
Be naive.
Be a fool. Okay, not a fool.
Not a fool.
Be a wise, deluded person.
100%.
Because I think the most audacious people are a little bit delusional.
100%.
Because to be
all of them.
Right, to be somebody that actually pursues vision and manifests it, you have to have a certain degree of crazy to be able to see it through.
Yeah.
Even thinking about something like TMS, we were definitely a bit screw loose somewhere.
Yeah. Even till now, people still ask us, so why do you do
what is it that you do?
Yeah, what is a digital sisterhood? I don't know, but we're doing it.
You wouldn't understand. You're not part of you're not.
Sometimes I don't understand.
Sometimes I don't. But you know what? We've seen it and we've decided to be delusional and run with it. There are certain things that are even manifesting now that were delusional to us 2-3 years ago. And that's another thing about vision. Some of the vision won't make sense to the people around you now, and some of it won't even make sense to you. But guess when it's going to make sense? In the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5 year. When it comes and it manifests, suddenly everyone's like, wow, that's amazing.
I
this
understand it now.
This is great. I understand it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's only you that will see the vision before everybody else has the
Steve
opportunity.
Jobs and the iPhone. There's nothing else to reference to. So it's like now that I've made it, now everyone sees that it's possible and they're replicating.
Do you know how crazy crazy he must have been
Honest
back in
to
the day
God.
when he was like, I'm going to make this little piece of
Yeah.
technology that everybody is going to absolutely fall in love
Yeah.
with, be obsessed with, and have a whole ecosystem of gadgets
around.
too.
But that's the thing, not everyone is called to that level of the edge. Like
Right.
not everyone is called to that point. And so sometimes it can be easy to be discouraged by those who weren't called to that point, who are like, why are you venturing beyond? Because I'm called to that point. You don't have to
Absolutely.
come.
Absolutely.
I'm already scared. Shut up.
Look, go for it. Go
Yeah,
big or
do
go home.
home.
Don't
go
even
home.
venture. Don't even venture outside if you're not going to go big. Go big.
That's
Be
good.
delusional, especially if you're a woman, because so often we are told you can't do this. Don't try this.
Come
you're
on.
punching above your weight.
Come on.
This is outside of what we think
Come
women
on.
should do.
Do.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Now.
100%. Next thing for me is, create more than you consume. Like, so that's a big one. Sickening.
CDB, first
Sickening.
of your name.
Create more than you consume.
Please.
One of the biggest life lessons. I'm going to keep this one short. I know how I react when I have just consumed, and I feel
Heavy.
I feel heavy, I feel full, I feel like I want to burst. And it's like, okay, how do you have an outlet? You have to create as well.
Yep.
But you find the right balance for me when you create more than you consume, because I think I was created and we were created to create things, right? Not just other human beings in the form of giving birth, but actually the ideas you have, the visions you get, the relationships you have, they manifest things, whether that's evolution and growth, whatever it is. So work on yourself, work on your ideas, work on the content, work on the business, work on the formulas, whatever it is that you do, work on it and put out things which literally come from your mind and your heart into the world. And you will find true fulfillment.
Beautiful.
You will start to feel drained when you
Beautiful.
keep eating and eating and eating. It will get past the point where it nourishes you and a point where it burdens you. And I have lived with the heaviness of that burdening, and it's not cute.
It's not cute at all. Create
In whatever form. Like, it doesn't have to be creative. It just has to be a creation and just put it out there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in sync, because the next one that I have for you guys is find a hobby that you enjoy doing just for the sake of doing it. I think, again, we're entering into this place where it's like, oh, we've got to monetize. It's got to be useful. It's got to be etc. Your outlet doesn't always have to be something that is functional or informed by capitalism. It can be something that you actually enjoy doing. And I think the reason that many of us are becoming boring when we get older is because we have no hobbies.
None.
We're all about work. We're all about the side hustles, which are all great things to have. But what do you actually do outside of that?
Yeah.
What do you do in your spare time?
Yeah.
What actually brings you joy?
Yeah.
What kind of things are you into? Even if it's niche, even if it's like slightly weird, if it's slightly, eclectic, those are the kind of things that make you interesting.
Facts.
Call people.
Good.
Find something cool. Find a hobby. Back in the day when we were, students and stuff, we were doing all sorts of rubbish
Dumb
and nonsense.
stuff.
Right. We were doing all sorts of things because we had a whole bunch of time. And granted, time is such a scarce resource for many of us. It's even more important that we are very intentional about how we spend it. And sometimes we can intentionally do nothing.
Yeah.
But I think intentionally do things that we actually enjoy.
The reason why people are doing that, though, is because of the economy.
There we go.
It feels like a waste of time and productivity and stuff to just have something you don't monetize or isn't bringing a result. But honestly and truly, that's where you find the most joy sometimes and the most rest and relax. There's a reason why our generation is becoming that burnt out generation, because it's like all we do is produce. All we're doing is productivity. And it's like, you need to have rest. You need to decompress. You need to relax. You're a human being. You need to sleep. You need to find joy.
And enjoy doing this whole guilt around. Look, and as someone who is obsessed with productivity, I love sleeping. I love baking. I love eat. I love Netflix. There's things that I do just for the sake of doing them because they're fun.
Whoa, bruh. I did a video. Sorry, I did a no, because this is literally made me remember something. I'm doing a chit chat, get ready with me. Somebody comments under, because I was like, oh, I've taken off my makeup. I'm going to go and watch a film. And someone commented, how can you say that you love productivity and purpose and go and watch a film? That's like the biggest waste of time ever. I said, you're going to die early. This is not how to live a life.
She said watching a film is a waste of time.
The biggest waste of time.
That's why your eyes are twitching when you're looking at all these short form contents. No focus.
No focus whatsoever. And also, I know you're unhappy.
Do you know what I mean?
Sorry.
But I love films.
And that's the purpose of art, right?
Yeah.
To view art and experience it and love it is purely an appreciation of beauty. It is nothing around monetization and all of that. And so, a tragedy.
Stay inside and have fun.
A real tragedy.
I want more for people.
The next one is bet on yourself. You're actually good at things.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I spent a long time of my 20s insecure about my talents and being very much like, I don't know if I'm as good as this, and comparing myself to others, especially because I've had quite an unconventional career and I haven't always felt confident and secure in that.
Yeah.
And now I've got to this realization at 25 that you've really done some great stuff.
I am the baddest bee on the block.
Yeah, you've really done some real good stuff. And it's not bad to acknowledge that and give God the glory for that. And also to continue to bet on yourself to be able to make manifest the ideas that you have, and that you have the skill set, the competence and the resources around you to actually make it happen, because you have a great mind and you know how to put things together. So keep learning, keep evolving, but bet on yourself.
I'm proud of you, man. CDB at 25.
I've done some stuff, man.
They said she's at a peak, but she continues.
Nah, we're not even started. I feel like for the last 2 years I've been hiding.
I hear it.
I just show up here, but everywhere else I'm like, no, I do. You don't. I show up here, and then I just go off and I grow and glow, and then come back,
and
I'm
guys,
like, hey,
the 10 million different things
that I've done. Doing. So once I'm fully out here, and I come out of hiding, prepare
that
to
grown
be
woman
sick of
glow up. He's about
prepare
to
be sick of me.
Serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one for me is seek out new experiences that are very challenging, such as, well, not necessarily challenging, but require you to do things by yourself. So take the solo trip, live abroad if you can. Find opportunities to really be yourself in a completely different, awkward, uncomfortable situation. As someone that obviously I was very, very fortunate to get a scholarship to go to Harvard, that year completely transformed my life in more ways than one. Obviously access to opportunities and network and all that kind of stuff, but it actually changed me. Like it changed who I was as a person. And because it was at a time in my early 20s, I was still finding my feet, being thrust into all of these situations and literally like how many miles, thousands of miles away from everybody that I knew, everyone that I loved. It was that point in my life that was the beginning of Renee as the woman, because it was just like, yo, I've got to find myself and quickly, very, very quickly. So if you can, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to save up and go. It can be finding scholarships to allow you to go and study abroad. It can be finding the shorter solo trips that you can go on. I think one of the things that I really love about you, Courtney, is I'm gonna go somewhere by myself. You about to go.
I'm gonna go somewhere by myself.
I'll go by myself. So if you can, where possible, especially when you're young, because I'm telling you now, the opportunities to do that will dwindle as you get older. So when you can, if you can, find those experiences to do you outside of your comfort zone, and preferably outside of the country. So
explore the world, baby.
Come on.
It's a big one.
Huge.
My next one is your relationships with your friends and close friends and family are more important than work.
100%.
I have spent a lot of my time working, missing out on important milestones, deprioritizing people, and it was probably the worst era of my life. It led to the worst burnout, the most isolation and feeling of loneliness, and that then bred insecurity and anxiety and overwhelm. And you know what? All of that has kind of faded away and started to be dealt with the more I have prioritized repairing relationships with my family, strengthening relationships with my close friends, and really prioritizing intimacy, which is why you need to read this book, in all honesty.
110%.
Because the focus on actually giving people who are not romantic partners your time, your attention, and cultivating healthy codependency with them and relationships with them, it cannot be understated how transformative that can be. And a lot of us are dealing with things right now which will be remedied by that very thing. And so it's worth the investment. And it's way more important than work, especially when you find the right people. And I think a lot of us think it's not worth it because we haven't found the right people. But once you find the right people, it makes it worth it. Yeah,
for sure, man. I absolutely love that. And that also relates to a point of mine. Look at us, we're in sync. Do you remember the band?
Yeah, NSYNC.
NSYNC. Find your community and tribe.
Yep.
So it may be that you actually build your community and tribe through these intimate relationships that you're investing in, or it may be that you find communities elsewhere, whether it be church communities, whether it be sisterhood communities, like the To My Sisters community, which you should join if you are listening to us for the first
subscribe,
time. Hello,
follow,
welcome,
rate us 5
subscribe,
stars.
follow, and
Follow us on
purchase a
IG.
ticket to the live show.
Yeah,
and
come and connect with the sisters offline. This is an opportunity. There you go.
Quite literally. But honestly, having a community around you, I think sometimes we can feel so isolated and alone because we don't have that feeling of people around us. And I know that we are super suspicious of people these days and negativity, toxicity, or community, all that kind of stuff. But if there's one thing that I think our parents' generation did really, really well is cultivate a sense of community, in that it wasn't abnormal for them to have a few people, a village around them. So intentionally curate a community or a village around you, even if they're, full of different types of relationships and different intensities of relationships. It's important to have that feeling of a tribe around you, because it really does support with that sense of belonging. I think a lot of us don't feel like we belong, and it's only towards the middle of my 20s that I really feel like, there's places I belong. Like I have these friendships, I have these relationships, but I belong in this particular space and I feel comfortable in this space. So invest in community.
That's really good. My next one is just do it. Stop procrastinating. Shout out to Nike.
Hi, Nike. We're available for
yeah, the reason why I say that though is because I tend to to-do list can sometimes really get long. And because I see the length of it, I get overwhelmed and then I kind of do nothing because of the anxiety and the overwhelm. So for me, actually just get it done, be productive, be proactive, and work on things fast as well. Like, even if you do have a lot more time, get it done earlier than later, just to give yourself the runway and the freedom and the breathing space. It's not worth it. Like I've really learned year after year, and it's a lesson that just is reoccurring in my life. Just do it. My dad used to say all the time, do it now. Just do it now. Even if you can do it later, do it now. And it was like, okay, you know what, sir, you had a good point.
I gotta get going. Absolutely love that. Great point. For me, the next that I've got on the list is care less about what people think of you, especially if they're not close to you or in close proximity to you.
Come on.
I can't tell you how many nights I have lost sleep or have felt uncomfortable, especially doing things that are a bit out of the norm or require me to, step outside of myself a little bit, because I've cared about what people have had to think about me or say about me. Baby, if you don't know me, I don't care.
Come on.
I don't care.
Don't give a damn.
I can't allow so many external voices to dictate the movements of my life, particularly those that actually are not in community, communion, or proximity to me. So if there are, some things that you want to do, but you are fearful because you care about what people think, you need to actually reel in the amount of power you are giving those voices in your life. And I think, again, advent of social media is so easy for us to open up to people that we don't know and don't know us. It's so easy for people that don't have close proximity to us to give us advice without knowing the full extent of our situation. What would the point in that be? Zero. Go out and do the things that you love, the things that you enjoy. How many of us feel like hampered in our capacity to move about in life, just enjoyment, doing things that we like because we care about what people think? Some of y'all are not dancing as much as you should be dancing because you're afraid of what people will have to say about you, knowing that this is probably, the one time that you'll see them at this particular event. Some of you are not really speaking your mind or, moving towards the fullest extent of your potential because you're afraid that the manifestation is not going to be popular with the people that you think care. They don't care about you, baby. Do you? Like, actually, stop caring what they think.
Now that leads perfectly into my next one, which is some people are just not going to agree with you. You and some people are just not going to get on. Some people are just not going to like you, and that's okay. You are not called to get along with everybody.
There we go.
And that's fine. Like, it's actually okay, especially if you're a people pleaser or you're somebody who cares about what people think about you. There are going to be some people who just don't agree with, and that the wisdom in that is also there is no point fighting to find common ground, because sometimes it just doesn't exist, or you're both not called to stand on the same ground, and that's actually all right.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Learn to give and receive affection, like actual love. This was something that I really struggled with, past all of that kind of stuff, to the point where it was very, very difficult I think more so receiving than giving affection. I could learn to give affection, but in terms of receiving it, I found it really, really difficult because I used to see love as quite transactional, and I always wanted to like give more than receive more. But you're actually perfectly capable and deserving of having affection. And in a multitude of different circumstances, whether it be romantic, platonic, whatnot, you are deserving of reciprocation and you should actively ask for it. Learn to give, but also learn to receive affection. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, I love being loved by people that love me. It's great.
Yeah, it works. And people do love you, and you should be open to receive that, especially if you do want to grow relationships. I've had many relationships in my life fall apart because I wasn't receiving the love that people wanted to give me. So yeah, you should definitely work on that one. I'm not gonna lie, that one can be quite destructive.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. My next one is continue to be excellent and always give your best.
Come on now.
I think for me, one thing that has constantly like made a way for me is just the amount of effort or the standard that I have set for certain things, and I have realized for myself in terms of the results that they bear, as well as, again, like even in my career success, it's often been because I have an element of perfectionism to me. And it's not like an obsessiveness. It's more so, I've seen that this is possible. Let me figure out how to make this actually happen for me so that I can be the best at it and I can continue to get better. So whether that's production quality, camera quality, whatever I can do to make my work actually better, or even when I speak, or the level of research I do into things. Like for me, aspiring towards the best has always helped me. And so keep doing that, keep showing up, keep being excellent, keep surpassing people's expectations. And as controversial as it is, refuse in many aspects of your life to be average.
No medes in our presence.
Yikers.
Okay, the next one that I've got is learn to be content in your own presence. It is okay to be alone sometimes. It is okay to have fun on your ones. In fact, you should actively cultivate moments where you can have fun on your ones. Please. There are some days that I spend the whole day with myself and I am kikiing, I am having a great time. I'm doing everything that I love. You need to be able to know yourself, enjoy yourself without the presence of other people, so that when you do get into the presence of other people, you have more to add than just a need.
Yes.
I think sometimes we get into the presence of people always needing them, but it's not necessarily just about articulating and sharing need, but also showing up and actually being a valuable contributor to that relationship. And the way that you can do that is working on yourself, being by yourself. And it's also when you are by yourself that you have the silence and the opportunity to really reflect on who you are as a person. So learn to be content in your own presence. And I think there's actually a study that I've been obsessed with recently that shows the amount of time you spend with different people. Guess who you spend the most time with over the course of your lifetime? It's you, baby girl. That's it. Ding, ding, ding. So you better get comfortable being in your presence.
Being in your presence. My penultimate one is pursue getting wisdom. I have found that if there is anything that has helped me navigate life, it hasn't even just been how much I know. It is my ability to apply what I have learned, not just from books, but also from human behavior. And I think wisdom is something that people lack because, for example, it is wisdom that tells you that even though something is true, it may not need to be said now. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
Do you get what I mean? That's knowledge tells you, but something else is true. Wisdom tells you, analyze the entire situation. Some people may call it emotional intelligence or whatever, but for me personally, it is an understanding of the way that life works and that everything is not scientific and it is not formulaic. Even things such as love and the other things which drive our lives and our relationship require wisdom in order to be successful, because just because 1 + 1 = 2, sometimes when it comes to life it equals 16. It's wisdom that helps you discern that. It's wisdom that helps you navigate that. So pursue wisdom. And honestly, if you ask me, how do you get it? I can tell you, read all the books, which is good, and acquire as much knowledge as possible. But my Bible tells me that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom.
Hallelujah.
And so understanding and accepting for me that everything is sometimes not understandable. And sometimes you just needed an element of discernment, an element of intuitiveness, and a desire to, not even a desire, a humility in order to navigate the world is what helps you navigate the world better. And that to me is wisdom.
Beautiful, beautiful. So for my last one, for my ladies up to 25, learn to communicate well. Learn
so
to
well
communicate
to my last
well.
one.
This is the height of besties.
Yeah.
But bear it in mind, we ain't looked at each other's list
At
until
all.
we actually, you know, it
Sat
was
down.
it was flowing.
Yeah.
It was flowing. Learn to communicate better.
Yeah.
I think that it is a real shame that so much destruction is wrought by our lack of communication and our lack of capacity to communicate. We don't prioritize it. We often think that communication is simply talking. But communication, in that, wisdom is such an important part of communication. Emotional intelligence, understanding of other people, understanding of people's bodies, understanding of people's experiences, their needs. That all goes into communication. Feeling comfortable enough to be able to translate what you're feeling into something that's practical and understandable by other people. It is the bedrock of so much progress in so many different spaces and capacities, in relationships, on this goddamn podcast. Oftentimes when folks, you know, comment on the podcast and they're like, I love the way you guys articulate stuff, it's because we've actually intentionally curated opportunities for us to become better communicators. And the work is ongoing. We learn, we read, we talk to people that, you know, very, very different experiences. We prioritize getting mentorship all around communication. How do you speak to people? But also, do you hear them? Do you actually listen to them? Do you understand them? I think that sometimes, again, communication is all about what we hear. But there's actually a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is the perception of sound. Listening is allowing that sound to be turned into understanding. Do you understand what that person has said to you? Do people understand you when you speak? Are you confident at articulating your needs? Because these can really lead to the destruction of relationships, your own destruction. Because have you ever felt frustrated when you can't put into words what you're feeling, what you're thinking? Not only do you become frustrated, but people become frustrated with you when you can't communicate. How many times do we get into relationships with people that are seemingly emotionally unavailable? I wonder if the query is around emotional unavailability or is it around communication? They're also emotionally unavailable because they can't translate that emotion into words or practical things to do that they need. Focus on getting that communication right, girl.
100%.
It doesn't even have to look like going to classes or anything like that, although educational institutions are great places to have a foundation for your communication. It looks like reading. It looks like having intimate discussions with your friends. It looks like challenging each other. Me and Courtney, there's one print screen that I've kept of us like speaking on the phone for like 6 hours. Obviously, we're not speaking throughout the 6 hours forever. Like that would be weird and strange. But there are people in your life that you can talk about anything under the sun. Use them and use that as an opportunity to practice and ask for feedback too.
That's literally what I was thinking.
Do you know what I mean? Did that sound good? Did that land well? Because you will stop yourself from getting into so much hot water and trouble if you focus on not just saying things but also on your delivery. So girl,
and that's not just your command of the English language or whatever language you speak, it's really your ability to master all language, which is physical, sexual, body language, tonality, like all of it. It's very much when you say stuff, you know, it's not just you saying stuff, you're saying stuff. And with that, you need to know what you're communicating to people and what people are reading off you. And if you find yourself constantly misunderstood, it could be because of you. And that brings me to my last point, which is always communicate with honesty, but also with compassion.
Oh, that linked real well.
Yeah,
You did that.
Because for me, truth matters, right? And the pursuit of truth and understanding matters. And so I am a person who loves to conversate, as you can tell from this podcast. I love to get to the bottom of things, which means I also am somebody who likes to ask questions a lot. However, in my pursuit of truth, or in my desire to be honest with people and never really, I wouldn't say never sugarcoat, but never deceive. I need to realize I need to be compassionate. I need to have compassion to people, because as much as maybe what you didn't make sense to me, it actually made sense to you. And so I need to understand, where is your mind at? Absolutely. And I think we can assume, even in the personal development space, the podcasting space, the social media space, we can assume this position of arrogance, which is, you're dumb for doing what you did. And it's like, if you were more compassionate, you would realize everyone thinks they're valid in what they did. Or in most cases, people knew that they were wrong, but they felt they had to do it. And so having that compassion helps you to understand that you are not the master of life, right? You are not the blueprint for all sense. There are people who are operating in this world based on their own life experiences, what they have been told, what they have been equipped with, the resources that they have, and what they believe is actually available to them. And the opportunities they believe that they have in life, or how limited those opportunities are for a better life.
Absolutely.
And so just because they have done something which you may not have done, even in the pursuit of telling the truth, you should still have compassion to the point, to the fact that everyone is different and is living a different life, and also it may give you the opportunity to learn a thing or two about the world.
Absolutely.
So Bob's your uncle, Fanji's your aunt.
Who is your aunt?
Fanji.
Who is Fanji?
Fangela.
That is the 26th thing I've learned.
It's Fangela.
Fangela.
No, it's Fanny's your aunt, but Fanny also means vagina.
My best friend, ladies and gentlemen.
I told you I'm the young girl of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. She really showed her age now, huh?
But yes, we hope that you have enjoyed those 25 things we have learned by 25. We wanted to get them all out to you. 25 is a big number. So if you want us to dive deep into any of these life lessons, please drop it in the comments like it is hot. But also in the comments section, wish my best friend a very big happy birthday.
If you would like to bless us as well, I will leave our PayPal down.
We're not accepting monetary gifts.
But you know what we are accepting? A purchase of our
the
book.
That would be the best.
But if you would like to give your great sister Renee, the elder of the community, allegedly, a great, because I know there's ladies older than
100%.
But if you would like to bless me with a gift, please come to our book launch, and even better, purchase our book, where we delve into all of these life lessons that we've actually touched on in this episode.
Also, we want to hug you, we want to talk to you, we want you to experience the sisterhood. Absolutely. So come along. But yes, Renee, I love you deeply. It is an honor to get to do this with you. And as you enter your grown woman era, may you go from strength to strength and glory to glory, beauty to beauty, and may you truly glow and grow. I like that for you. Amen. Hallelujah. In the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. So, sisters, we will talk to you very, very soon. Have an amazing week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere at To My Sisterhood. But you can follow our individual journeys at Renee Kapuku, at CD Boating. Rate the podcast 5 stars. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of that good stuff. Sign up to the mailing list as well. But we will talk to you soon. And as always, no matter what age you are, keep glowing and growing.